Just because of one casual remark from a neighbor, the man began to suspect that his 18-year-old daughter was not biologically his. When faced with his doubts, the wife swore with confidence, "There's a 90% chance she's yours."
你觉得孩子有没有问题呢？
我没问题。
一定没有问题。
不是，我也90%没问题，90几。
为什么是90%几？这孩子是不是你的？你应该是。
我肯定很清楚啊。
Such a confident statement actually led to more speculation from those who heard it. That day, the man sought help from a mediator. He said that although his daughter is now in college, their communication is extremely difficult. Sometimes, the daughter even resorts to violence. Just a few days ago, the man was hit on the head with a glass cup by his daughter.
但是他一直是这样的，
砸了你。
我那个小孩，我一直喊了，他没听过，你知道吧？我一直喊了，就是哪怕喊了搞一下卫生，哪怕就是喊了搞一下卫生，他都不听我的话的，你知道吧？
更加怀疑加深了。
对，所以我肯定有原因了，是不是？我也不是没抚养他，是不是？
The suspicion that the daughter wasn't his didn't just come from these day-to-day issues. There was also something that happened 10 years ago that planted the seed. At that time, the man took his little daughter out to play, and as she sweetly called him Dad over and over, a neighbor suddenly laughed and said, "That's not your dad."
我带邻居到外面去玩，那个邻居因为那个都是我们老家的，知道吧？他那邻居他就说，他说你待会想喊我爸爸吧，他说你不会叫他爸爸，他不是你爸爸，你又不是他亲生的，他当我面是这样说的，是吧？
At the time, the man thought it was just a joke. But looking back 10 years later, he realized it was actually a hint. Afraid of damaging the family's harmony, the man didn't directly ask his wife, but instead quietly observed. People often say daughters resemble their fathers, but when he compared their photos, he found they really didn't look alike. Most importantly, his wife was already pregnant before they got married, and that was the reason they tied the knot. The more the man thought about it, the more uneasy he felt, so he went to the mediator for help. He had met his wife through a matchmaker. Since it was 1999 at the time, getting pregnant before marriage was considered shameful, so they had a shotgun wedding. The mediator calculated the timeline and said, "There's nothing suspicious here. What's there to doubt?" The man explained that he was a night shift driver, while his wife worked as an insurance agent, so they barely spent time together.
我觉得他就是这个性格，一直就是在怀疑、不信任，然后一点小事就会放在心里，就是可能也是一个隔阂吧。今年吵架了，他也提起过一次，说我女儿他也怀疑不是他的。上次我说如果你有怀疑的话，你可以去做那个亲子鉴定。我说我配合你，他又不去，我女儿叫他也不去。
In response to her husband's doubts, the wife cried injustice. She said that after they got married, she took the initiative to quit her insurance job and became a full-time housewife. Then, her tone changed, and she began to criticize the man. She said that although he handed over his salary every month, he had the habit of recording every expense. Even when she bought a handful of vegetables, he would write it down, which made her feel restricted, like a prisoner. She claimed her husband was deeply paranoid, never trusting anyone or anything, and still refused to get a paternity test. As she spoke, she even pulled out a yellow diary, recording past marital fights, and on her phone, she still had videos of them smashing furniture during arguments. Now, the man suspected the daughter wasn't his and didn't even want to pay her tuition anymore. The daughter's teacher had called multiple times, urging the parents to pay more attention to her emotional state. Currently, the daughter lives in a dorm, and the wife has rented a place outside, refusing to return home, only coming back during her daughter's holidays. At this point, the man interrupted his wife and brought the topic back to the core issue. He said that it wasn't just the neighbor who said things. Later, even their younger son once said to him, "You're not my dad."
我那个小孩他也是这样说，你知道吧？他说你不是我的爸爸，知道吧？因为10岁了，10岁小孩跟我那个小孩有10岁，这个小孩也是10岁，他如果是没人收拾， 前面没人说实他讲这样话，他绝对不会讲这样的话，知道吧？
你看他这个人就是这样的，怀疑。
But is it possible that you treated the children poorly, and that's why they said such things? With no other choice, the wife once again demanded a paternity test. This time, the man didn't refuse. When the daughter heard about the test, she immediately agreed. She had long lost any emotional bond with her father, and agreeing to the test was her way of defending her mother. But before setting out, the mediator asked the wife how confident she was. She said there's a 90% chance the child is his.
你觉得孩子有没有问题呢？
我没有问题，
一定没有问题。
不是，我有90%没问题，90几。
为什么是90%几？这孩子是不是你的？你应该是
我肯定很清楚啊。
当时你们已经结婚了，这孩子
我们当时我们还没结婚，孩子就有了。那时候我们住在七里东站。
At the DNA testing center, the father and daughter sat silently, avoiding eye contact. Even the mediator felt awkward.
是爸爸，你好久没见面了，说句话，我们多久没见面了？
没，有个时候我跟他说，他不跟你讲话，知道吧？在家里面也是一样的，知道吧？我很少带他出去玩，我也没时间带他出去玩，知道吧？
陪伴多嘛。
陪伴，更不用说什么陪伴了。
就是积累吧，就是积累，太久了。我妈妈说想送我去培训班跳舞，就是练一下那个形体，因为小时候走路姿势就是有点，好像是有点遗传还是什么，就有点怪。然后我妈妈就想让我改善一下，然后她就说没有必要花那个钱。
During the testing process, the man actually expressed distrust toward the local technology and even considered taking the samples to Beijing. Naturally, this was rejected. After the test, the three of them gathered to discuss the matter. The woman stated that no matter what the result was, she was determined to get a divorce.
我们要解决离婚的问题解决了，他还是要女儿，他说还是要女儿跟着我，但是他肯定要弥补女儿啊，对不对？就把家里那套房子给女儿吧。这边的话就是我们卖掉吧，财产每人一半，儿子的抚养权就根据儿子的选择好，可以吧？
However, because of the wife's earlier 90% comment, the man remained confident and insisted on waiting for the DNA results. At this point, even the mediator began to doubt the woman. He pulled her aside and asked quietly if she had any ex-boyfriends she was hiding from everyone. The woman admitted that she did have one, but they had broken up a year before she met her husband. The mystery was finally solved. The reason she had said 90% was because she wasn't very well educated and didn't really understand how DNA testing worked. So she didn't dare say 100%.
我就之前肯定谈过朋友，但是后来就
几个嘞？
一个。
是什么时候断的？是和他在一起多久断的？
那有1年了。
说7年的话就算是90%的概率都是他的啊。那你觉得还是有误还是什么的？
我也不了解这个亲子鉴定，反正我也不了解，也没去诚心去了解过。但是我觉得是什么事就是90%几的把握，就是应该已经是100%了。
1 week later, the results came back. The daughter was indeed the man's biological child. Afterwards, the woman proceeded with the divorce, and the man agreed to sell their apartment in the city to compensate the daughter. The daughter said that since things had come to this, she would be willing to take care of her father in his old age. That was the end of the story.
Sometimes, a single thoughtless comment can tear apart a family's trust that's lasted 18 years. But the most heartbreaking part is the bond that had already been lost between the father and daughter. It's not that the daughter didn't want to be close to her father. It's that years of neglect and lack of understanding had built up an invisible wall in her heart. This man was not a bad father. He was simply too suspicious and too silent, bottling up all his doubts until everything collapsed. And this woman may not have been a completely innocent wife either. That 90% certainty was, in truth, a reflection of how little confidence she had left in their marriage. In the end, the DNA test proved the blood relation, but it couldn't repair the relationship that had already broken. This isn't just the tragedy of one family. It's the reality faced by many families today. Kinship isn't maintained by blood alone, but by trust, presence, and responsibility. What's your take on this father, this mother, and the father-daughter relationship? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I really look forward to hearing what you have to say. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.